Hey, welcome to the Monday morning show. Grant Cohn, Ryan Hensley, thanks for showing up. We're talking about Brock Purdy today. And the reason we're talking about Brock Purdy is because of Ryan. No one saw this. This lady, I forget her name. Was it? I'll find it. Lori Epstein. She writes for Yahoo and puts together an article about Brock Purdy's latest interview, which he did for a few people. And the seventh paragraph, she just casually mentions, like, he still, quote, he says he isn't really sure, honestly, if he'll play in 2023, but, he's taking it one day at a time and he's encouraged. And Ryan texted me and Jesse yesterday morning and was like, why is no one talking about this?
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good question. So we started talking about it all day and we slept on it. And now it's time to talk about it a little bit more because it's interesting that it didn't get bigger. It's not bigger news. And I think the reason it's not bigger news is it's not what the Niners said. Trying to find English words here. It's pretty much, he contradicts the 49ers. And a lot of people, journalists, go with whatever the Niners tell them to go with. So they were told a couple of weeks ago, hey, man, he could be back for training camp. Now all of a sudden he says, I'm just taking it one day at a time, and I don't know if I'll be back at all this year. And I think journalists, like, their heads exploded. They're like, well, I'm getting two different stories here. To me, this feels like the real deal because it's coming from the horse's mouth. What do you think about this?
Yeah, man, I bet the 49ers aren't thrilled that he said that. He probably didn't mean to say it. Probably just came out in conversation. It's definitely not, there's a lot of journalists, a handful that, they know that the rest of the world knowing this is not good for the 49ers. And so they avoid that kind of stuff, right? This is not what they want to get out.
He went off script. He went off script. But he was being honest. It's the most honest thing anyone said about this guy. We don't know. He's taking it one day at a time.
Yeah. And if nothing else, this is what I've been saying is I don't think he's going to be there for week one. Like, if nothing else, week one's kind of out of the question. If you don't even know if you're going to play at all next year, then week one is definitely, to me, out of the question. He's probably going to be on the PUP list at minimum, if not IR.
Let's explain that. Let's go through it real quick. So I pulled that up. Cut down date is August 30th. That's when he's got to be cleared. And if he's not fully cleared by August 30th, he starts the season on the PUP list, which means he has to miss the first 4 games. Yeah. So I think, he had the procedure on March 10th. 6 months after that is September 10th. So it's supposed to be 6 to 8 months, the recovery. Earliest it seems he will be on PUP, coming back week 5. But if he's cleared week 5, that means no OTAs, minicamp, training camp, preseason, nothing. Also, no practice or anything the first 4 weeks of the season. You're telling me he's going to be ready to start week 5? I doubt it. He's probably going to have to practice and get ramped up. And it's hard to get a quarterback prepared to play midseason. So when he says, I'm not really sure if I'm going to play this year, I get it. Because he probably won't even be activated until week 5. And at that point, will he be ready? Will Trey Lance be playing well? Will Sam Darnold be playing well? Like, it's really, who the hell knows?
Yeah. And if Trey Lance is playing well, why would you even want to rush back? You might as well take your sweet time and just make sure you're 100% healthy. All your muscles, your back, your arms, everything is ready to go. You're prepared. So, PUP list to me is at minimum. Like, it's possible he starts on the IR. It really is. So, it's surprising that this wasn't bigger news. I don't know why she that should have been the title of her article. Maybe she didn't want to give that effect, like a gotcha moment or something like that, or a clickbait type title. But it's really not. People were so mad at you and I for reporting this. Like, all we're telling you is what Brock Purdy said himself from the horse's mouth. It's not like we're telling you he's not going to play next year. He said he might not. And that's big, big news.
Someone in that interview should have followed up when he said he's not really sure, honestly, if he'll play in 2023. Excuse me, Brock. You just said you're not really sure if you're going to play in 2023. Could you just say what you mean by that? Because that's big. A big revelation.
Yeah.
Give him an opportunity to explain himself. Because right now, we're having to do the explanation, and it makes me. It seems like the right thing for him to do, and I could see why the Niners would be a little upset, because from Kyle's perspective, quarterbacks are completely disposable and replaceable, and I'm sure he thinks that Brock isn't that special, And now he's acting like he has to protect himself and that he's a commodity. It's like, dude, you were nothing 6 months ago. But you know what? Brock is a commodity now. Yeah. And he has to protect himself and his future because Kyle won't. And you can ask any number of quarterbacks about that.
It sounds like he has a really good team around him, instructing him to do the smart thing, the right thing, and think about your long-term career, regardless of what pressure from either the fan base or the 49ers. Screw that, man. Make sure you're 100% healthy. That's the right thing to do. It's very mature of him to do that. It sounds like he has a good team around him. But there's a lot of implications from this, right? Like when they signed Sam Darnold, my thoughts were, okay, this is a hedge against Brock Purdy's injury. Everyone's like, no, this means they don't believe in Trey Lance. Right. Well, based on this news, this really does kind of show you that this is about they're unsure whether Brock Purdy's going to play at all next year. And if he does come back, will he be the same? So Sam Darnold was a hedge against Brock Purdy's injury. It wasn't about Trey Lance. Trey Lance isn't getting traded. They cannot afford to trade Trey Lance right now. They need Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and whatever rookie they're going to end up drafting. And they're going to draft one.
Right. And again, we don't even know if Brock Purdy's ever going to be the same. The only other quarterback who ever had this procedure is Nick Mullins, and he's not a starting quarterback. We don't really know what he is or if he's better or worse than what he was before the injury. We do know, though, that he had his procedure in January. He played in the preseason, was awful, got waived, eventually started a game during the pandemic because of COVID outbreak, and it was week 15, and he still struggled. I mean, he was throwing a lot of short passes. Finally, last year, he seemed like himself again. So it's possible that although Brock Purdy could get cleared week 5 or week 7, that he really won't be Brock Purdy again until 2024. And if that's the case, like, why is it in his interest to rush back on the field with no preparation at 70% and look bad? I mean, no one would give him the benefit of the doubt. His stock would just drop. So I think it's more in his interest to take it slow, come back when he's really ready, and show that those 8 games weren't a fluke. Because if he comes back and looks shaky, people will think, you know what? He's not that special. It was a flash in the pan.
And there's 2 things. Like I expect Brock Purdy and the 49ers to walk back those comments coming soon before the draft. I would expect them to walk that back a little.
Brock Purdy?
Either Brock
the
Purdy
Niners.
or the 49ers.
Yeah, the Niners.
One of the 2, walking that back before the draft because they're going to have to go get a quarterback. And this is really unfortunate for Brock Purdy. I really just hope he can get back to just be 100% of the guy that we saw before because he hasn't got paid anything. And based on what he's done, he deserves to get paid more. And I hope he gets a second contract. He gets back to 100% and he's the same guy. That would be very unfortunate. Brock Purdy never does, but I think he will at some point. It's just when.
I remember Brock Purdy's the guy who said that George Kittle talks too much on national television. This guy is not a shrinking violet. He stands up for himself. So I think we're going to see, this is going to be an interesting story because the Niners came out and basically spoke for him, which is a no-no. Remember, Harbaugh would never do that.
Yeah.
I'm not in his body. Former player, very sensitive about that kind of stuff. John, another former player, not so sensitive about it. Kyle, not sensitive at all. They'll come out and be like, oh, he's doing great. He's ahead of schedule. It's like, okay, well, what's the player say? He's the one actually doing the rehab. And what he said is, I'm just taking it one day at a time. This is uncharted territory.
We've heard 3 things. John Lynch, he'll most likely be ready for week 1. Kyle Shanahan, 6 to 8 months. Yep. Brock Purdy, I don't know if I'm playing next year.
Again, 8 months. 8 months from March 3rd from March 10th is November 10th. So it is super possible that he does not play at all this year. And you know what? If he's special and he needs a year to get back, then him sitting out a year is the best thing for him and the organization.
Yeah. And a lot of that's going to, like you said, we talked about earlier, how are the 49ers doing? How's Trey Lance doing? If they're playing well and balling out, then there's no need at all for even the 49ers at that point to want to rush him back. Also,
the more they push Brock to come back soon, the less it makes me feel like they really think he's special. You know, like if Kyle thought, wow, yes, I struck gold here. I just got freaking Tony Romo, Drew Brees. Like, dude, I got a lifetime contract here. I'm Kyle Shanahan. Like, let's chill. Jed's not going to kick me out. But if his attitude is, dude, I don't know who the hell you think you are. You are a 7th round pick. You're a football player. If you're healthy, you got to get on the damn field. And if you're not good enough, I'll replace you again because I don't think you're that special. That's if they force him back out there, it's Kyle saying again, dude, you're just young, cheap Jimmy. Don't get that into yourself. And that's totally Kyle's MO. So again, Brock, be your own advocate here.
Here's the thing: is like when I watched Brock Purdy, and I was one of the few, honestly. I was just really watching what he was doing. To me, he seemed like he was good. Like, he was a good player,
Mhm.
top 15 type potential. But I didn't see all this other stuff that a lot of people are seeing. And I don't think Kyle Shanahan did either. I think he thinks
Right.
Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, and
Right.
they lucked out. But I don't think they see an elite quarterback. I don't think
John
so.
might. But John thought Jimmy Garoppolo was elite. I don't think Kyle Shanahan does. Kyle Shanahan is like us. He saw through Jimmy Garoppolo. He also thinks he's the star of everything. So I couldn't imagine that he went from looking at Brock Purdy as the next Nick Mullins to the next franchise quarterback. Kyle doesn't change his mind like that.
Yeah.
So if Brock Purdy wants to protect himself and look for the future, Kyle could all of a sudden be more into Sam Darnold or Trey Lance. He could go back, or someone in the draft. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that dance goes down. Khalil says, when did Nick Mullins play preseason? With the Eagles in 2021. They signed him for training camp. He played in the preseason, and he was awful, and they waived him. Then he got signed by the Browns and was on their practice squad. So that's the story there. So that's the latest on Brock. And now we're realizing why the Niners are talking to Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Tanner McKee, Jake Haener, 3 quarterbacks that aren't going to be around in round 7. Last year, they took the last quarterback in the draft. This year, they're looking at guys who are, going to get picked right where their top picks are, the end of round 3. And they're thinking, why? Are they trading Trey? Well, it's possible they need a third quarterback because Brock is going to have a year off. In which case, which quarterback do you think the Niners should draft?
Should draft is different. There's 5 guys that I have here written down, or 6. There's Tanner McKee, who's probably going to go 2nd to 3rd round. Jaren Hall, who's 4th to 5th. Jake Haener, who's 4th to 7th. DTR, who they have ranked 4th to 7th. Clay Toon at 6th. And Max Duggan, 3rd to 7th. The player that I like out of here is DTR. But the thing that scares me is that how forward the 49ers are showing their interest in DTR. He's visited with the 49ers 3 times. To me, that if the 49ers wanted DTR, I don't think they would be showing everybody that they want DTR as strong as they are. So that makes me think it might be somebody else. I would be surprised if they end up showing their hand like this and then getting him. I think they're trying to get somebody else. I'm unsure right now who it might be, and it might be Jaren Hall from BYU. I don't know. Who do you think it's going to be?
Well, I think it's DTR, but it's possible that he won't be available. His stock is climbing. He might go early round 3, late round 2. I mean, he might go around where Hendon Hooker goes.
Yeah.
And I think DTR appeals to the Niners in a lot of ways. They want a combination of Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. What they like about Trey Lance is the athleticism, because they want to be a running team and they want that quarterback run element like Philly has. Like, they want that. That's part, and they want a guy who can push the ball down the field. Like, that's DTR. They also want a quarterback who's experienced at a young age, so he can come in and play right away and have success right away. That's what Brock has going for him. And DTR is both of those things. He's a playmaker. He's super fast. He's a cannon. And he started like 5 years at UCLA. And he's only like 23 years old. So I think he appeals to the Niners. He has what they want in a quarterback.
So 2 things. Jaren Hall is kind of like that too, isn't he? And I think he's similar.
He's older. I think he's a 2-year starter. He's a really good player too. He's a hell of a player.
Oh, I thought he was 4. Okay. So, yeah.
Because Zach Wilson was there. You know what I mean? I think he started the last 2 years. Yeah.
So, here's the thing is I would love for the 49ers to draft, find what you're looking for in a quarterback and draft a quarterback with a similar skill set, right? If Trey Lance is your QB1, get a DTR who has a similar skill set, and now you can match your offense. You're not going back and forth from Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo to Brock Purdy. We're all 3 different. It would be nice if they actually went after a quarterback that was similar to Trey Lance. So DTR would be who I'd want. It just makes me feel weird that they're so upfront about it. 3 visits already. I don't think the 49ers would want the NFL to know that. So to me, it seems like it might be a guy that they kind of just slipped under the radar. Maybe a Tanner McKee who does.
God, I can't stand Tanner. I've seen him play in person. He's just so slow. Yeah. And maybe Kyle's still into quarterbacks like that, but it seems like every single quarterback that makes it deep in the playoffs now is a playmaker. These pocket statues don't succeed anymore. I'm not into them. Jake Haener, same thing. Like, he's really good, but to me, he's much more like Nick Mullins than Brock Purdy, because the difference between Mullins and Purdy is their feet. Purdy's an athlete. He's a little bit of a playmaker. Mullins is not. Yeah. He's stationary, and I look at Haener as stationary too. And there's a real ceiling for those type of quarterbacks. To me, they're backups in the NFL. They're backups.
Yeah, a guy who is pretty mobile is Max Duggan, right? He's pretty damn mobile, I'm pretty sure.
He actually ran a 4.5, yeah.
4.5, yeah. Jake Haener, the thing about Jake Haener, man, is I know a lot of people love him. And honestly, I haven't seen him play a full game. I'll be completely honest about that. But when I watched him in the combine, his arm was not very impressive. And then the thing about his interview, he was borderline Brock Purdy attitude to over the top with his attitude.
I watched him. I watched his interview. He seemed a little kiddlish, like, smiling, making jokes, a little
cocky. Like he was almost
cocky,
intended to be compared to Brock Purdy almost.
Interesting.
Have
you seen DTR talk?
No.
That guy reminds me a lot of Brock Purdy.
Okay. There you go.
Just his cadence, his tone, his manner. I mean, he's very calm. He's not going to get offended in an interview.
Yeah. It would be nice if we knew the
very
test
mature
results for these quarterbacks.
For the S2.
Yeah.
Because that matters a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the dude went to UCLA for 5 years. He's probably pretty smart.
If I'm picking out of those quarterbacks we're talking about, I'm getting a DTR. It's just to me like the obviousness of it makes me think it's not going to happen. If that makes sense. Like,
I mean, I'm saying he might not be there for the Niners, and I don't think they're going to trade up for him. But if he's there when they pick at the end of round 3, that's basically a round 4 pick anyway. Mm-hmm. And I could see if, again, those are Kyle's picks. He picks everything before, I think, round day 3. Yeah. So if he falls in love with a quarterback, he took CJ Beathard in that spot. 104, I believe. So 102, something like that. I mean, he could do it again this year. And if DTR is available, I think they'll pull the trigger. He just has way too much in common with Brock Purdy. All that experience. I think the Niners figured out that they're a great spot for an experienced quarterback coming out of college because they have their roster puts so much pressure on a young quarterback to succeed right away. Yeah. And it's not Trey's fault. He didn't fail, but there's so much pressure on him to be a finished product, whereas Purdy is. And DTR isn't necessarily a finished product. I think he played quarterback for 1 year in high school, but still, I mean, he has like 1,500 throws in college. That helps. And if you watch him play, he knows how to play the position. He's very comfortable checking the ball down. Like all the little things that Kyle can't teach, Chip Kelly taught him.
Yeah. There's 3 things really that I'm looking for in a quarterback now at this point after watching everything that's transpired in the NFL. It's experience, it's that test score, and it's you carrying the team, not being carried by your roster, you actually having to carry a team. Those 3 things are the most important thing to me, honestly. Because
name the best wide receiver DTR played with at UCLA. I can't even name one.
Yeah.
And I watched that team. I think also go watch Jordan Palmer's breakdown of DTR. Jordan Palmer is Carson Palmer's brother. He's like the best QB coach in the world. He's up there. Yeah. And he's just he's like, look, he may not be a top 5 quarterback in this class, but he's a top 5 playmaker in this class. It's like, look at these scrambles. Like, there's a scramble here where most quarterbacks will get 4 yards. It's a 70-yard touchdown for DTR. Yeah. Like, he makes people miss. He hurdles people. He's really good. And what Jordan Palmer says is quarterbacks in today's NFL need 3 things. You need to be able to get the ball out of your hands quickly. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to make plays with your feet outside of structure. And you need to be able to push the ball down the field. DTR can do all 3 of those things, and he comes with experience.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up the word playmaker. The first thing I thought of when I saw Brock Purdy play in the preseason was this kid's a playmaker, right? He just sees the field. He makes something out of nothing.
He wants to extend plays. He's comfortable. Yeah. As opposed to Jimmy, like you could feel the anxiety when he held the ball for more than 2 seconds. Like Brock's like, I'm happy to.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's not on script for Jimmy, he's done. So that's what the 49ers need. Like they make sure it's a guy who's led a roster, DTR. A guy who has test scores, I imagine DTR is that way, and a guy with experience. And I imagine, he has the experience as well. He's a playmaker. Yeah. I think it would be a good pickup for the 49ers. Whether or not that's what they're doing, I don't know. But I think I would like it.
I feel like people are starting to figure it out. If Brock Purdy had success because of his experience and his test scores and his playmaking ability with his feet, what about this kid from UCLA? Because I think he probably would test higher than Brock Purdy and everything except the S2 is my guess.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Arm strength, foot speed, everything.
If you look at the quarterbacks they drafted outside of Trey Lance, because it didn't matter because they had the 3rd pick, but all the other quarterbacks they drafted, we really didn't have any idea that those quarterbacks were going to be drafted, right? They didn't telegraph it the way they're telegraphing it right now with DTR. That's the thing that makes me wonder, are they are they really going after DTR? It's not like they have a third pick, right?
It seems like the whole league is going out. I don't know if the media might not have known about this guy, but I think he's met with like 10 teams, like the Eagle. I think a lot of people know about this guy. And again, check out his pro day interview. Cause I think the Niners weigh that stuff. Someone asked, what are you working on this offseason? He goes into what he's working on mechanically, like in freaking detail. I love hearing quarterbacks talk about that kind of stuff. He's like, I'm very quad dominated, so I'm trying to work on my posterior chain. And it's really helped me get more rotation, which is why I threw the ball 62 miles an hour at the combine. It's like, okay, UCLA grad, nice. I like that. I mean, I'm impressed, but maybe I'm just biased because I went there.
I want him. I don't disagree with you. It's just the how obvious they're making it makes me concerned. But
yeah.
I will say that DTR, Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, that's a good young quarterback room. Right
Hell
there.
yeah.
I would be excited about that. Yeah,
absolutely. And then you got, DTR, Sam Darnold, Trey Lance this year. And then it's a game of survivor. Someone's got to be off the island. And because Brock Purdy's coming back next year, and Brock Purdy's damn good. I'm excited for Brock Purdy's future. He's a great story. But I'm also excited about Trey Lance's future. And it's a good problem the Niners have. They just got to play it right. And Sam Darnold, I don't know how he weaseled himself in here, but I would be much more interested in developing someone like DTR than Sam Darnold. Because, dude, Sam Darnold's had 1 million second chances. This is his 50th second chance.
I think the problem with Sam Darnold, man, is his mental. And that's something I don't think.
How do you fix that?
The only thing you can do for that is dial guys up perfect. You can, basically like Jimmy Garoppolo, right? I want you to throw to this guy. He's going to be open. Throw to him and him only. So anything off script, it might be a problem. I mean, he's more mobile than Jimmy, so that helps him. But it's the mental part. I don't know if you can fix that. I'd like to know.
He's just a walking turnover. So we'll see. And he committed a bunch of turnovers in his last game. I don't know if you can stop that. Tony says it's Trey's time to really lock in and take the damn QB1 spot for good. Show us the progress he posts on IG, but with pads. Yeah, man. He's got all off season. He's got see what he's got. Official B&A Music 88 says fans, coaches, and teammates have been so pressed for Brock over Trey as QB1. No one has considered how this injury has affected him mentally. Yeah. I mean you got to think like he felt, the Brinks truck was right within grasp, and then his arm broke. And now he's thinking like, man, it's still there, but I got to make sure that this arm is good.
I think both Trey and Brock have to overcome that. And I think they both have the mental makeup to do it.
Yeah, they're both really young. Daniel Sotelo says, does this news open the door for a Rodgers trade? What do you think?
I think it's possible. Yeah, I've been thinking that for a while. If the Jets can't make it work, I could see the 49ers doing it. I think he only cost $16 million. A lot of people are worried about that, but I think it's only a $16 million cap hit if they sign Rodgers, and there's a way to free up enough draft capital to do that. I think it's really about Rodgers and the Jets right now, whether they can make it work. But I could see the 49ers being in play for it. I could see them seeing the need. And that's probably one of the only players. If they bring in an Aaron Rodgers, I'm not mad about that. Like Trey Lance, as much as I want to see what he can do, I will pass that to see Aaron Rodgers play on the 49ers with this roster.
I could see the Niners doing it too, because Kyle makes emotional decisions about quarterback, especially when he feels like they should play and they're like holding themselves out for business decisions. I'm not saying Brock's going to do that, but he could, and he might. You can say he should, but go back to Jimmy. Jimmy was the guy. Jimmy got hurt in 2020, came back, tried to play through it, be a soldier, got hurt again, shut himself down. By the end of the year, I mean, he missed like 8 games in a row with a high ankle sprain. If we remember, Patrick Mahomes had a high ankle sprain throughout the playoffs, missed no games. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit like, do you want to play through this? Are you willing to play at 50%? And it seemed like Jimmy's answer was no. And it seemed like Kyle never forgave him for it. And I think that's part of why they traded up for Trey Lance. Not necessarily because they love Trey Lance, but because Kyle was so upset with Jimmy, he wanted to replace him and get him out as the franchise quarterback spot so that he was just another quarterback. If Brock, all of a sudden, if Kyle feels that way about Brock, like, oh my God, you're holding yourself out, but you could play. Okay, well, I'll get Aaron Rodgers, and now you have no future here. So good luck wherever you go, Brock, because I don't think you're that special. That is so Kyle's personality. I don't know. I'm with you. They could go get Rodgers, although I don't think Kyle and Rodgers would work. Those two.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Those
two.
It's
a possibility. I think Trey Lance is going to be your QB1 week 1 is what I think is going to happen. Yeah.
Good question, Daniel. Mansa says, did Mike show up at a workout? That's the guy. Mike Shanahan. Man, if I were Kyle, I'd tell him to stay home, dude. Dad, stay home. The next time you help me will be the first time you've helped me. Stay home. All right, moving on. Jalen Hurts just got paid today. 5 years, $255 million, 180 guaranteed. This is off of 2 good years, 1 elite year. He's not even 25 years old. If Trey Lance has a couple of years like Jalen Hurts just had, because, I mean, he's right there. He's about to turn 23, a couple years away from being in line for this extension.
Yeah.
Will he have earned this? I mean, is 2 years all it takes?
It really depends on what he's able to do. I mean, for me, I don't like paying any players from the owner's perspective, from the franchise perspective. I don't want to pay anybody. What we've seen, I think the times have shown us you need an elite quarterback on your roster. So if he comes out and plays like an elite quarterback, yeah, you have to. And you're talking about like $60 million a year by that time that Trey Lance will probably be making by the time they're ready to extend him. But he's going to have to show that he's elite. And if he's not a top 10, top 12 type quarterback, I don't think you should. But if he does come out and show that he is that top 10, top 12 type quarterback, then, yeah, I think you have to. You need an elite quarterback. And, you know, the Eagles gave Jalen Hurts time to show that. You know, you tweeted out this morning, I tweeted out before, that Trey Lance had a better first 4 starts than Jalen Hurts does. The difference is the Eagles gave Jalen Hurts an opportunity to prove himself, and he has. He took him to the damn Super Bowl. So if Trey Lance is able to show the 49ers that he's that elite quarterback, well, then, yeah. And, you know, it doesn't bother me that they're extending Jalen Hurts because he's shown that he can do it all. And they're getting ahead of it, honestly. Every year that just goes up and up for these quarterbacks. So even though $51 million seems like a lot right now, by the time Trey Lance is ready to get his, it might be 60.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it seems to me like people just don't think Trey Lance can make this leap, but Jalen Hurts, I still have questions about how good he really is. He is very good, but damn, he has a great team around him, like the best offensive line, 2 great wide receivers, like a great scheme, a great defense. With Trey Lance, I mean, yeah, everyone says he's on a great team and hasn't had success, but wait a second. They say he's got 4 starts. Yeah, but he got hurt immediately in the 4th start. He essentially has played 3 games with the 49ers. Mm-hmm. The first game, he had no Mitchell, no Kittle. He was the running back. No, they had Mitchell, but Mitchell had like 9 carries. Mitchell was like hurt and wasn't getting a full workload. 9 carries for Mitchell, no Kittle, he lost. Next game, he had Kittle and Mitchell. Mitchell had like 20-something carries. They clicked. They destroyed the Texans. 3rd start, Mitchell got hurt off after his 6th carry, no Kittle. They lost. So I'm really curious to see what Trey Lance looks like with Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. Because last year, before they had McCaffrey, they had a bunch of talent, and Jimmy Garoppolo was not playing well. The offense was scoring 19 points a game. As soon as they get McCaffrey, things take off. Jimmy plays well. Purdy plays well. I'm guessing if Trey Lance could have had some games down the stretch with that group too, he would have played well as well. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing if that's true. I'm guessing the combination of I'm guessing that McCaffrey's going to make Trey Lance look way better. Way better.
Oh, even
way better.
Even Kyle Shanahan said if Trey Lance didn't get hurt, we think he was going to have a really good year. I think Kyle Shanahan believes that he can have good years with a lot of people, and just Trey Lance just having that. The thing about Trey Lance compared to Sam Darnold and Brock Purdy is he can do things that they can't. Right? He opens up the run game. The run game was a lot better under him than it's been under any quarterback in forever. He also can stretch the field, throwing the ball in those tight windows. So there's more that he can do with Trey Lance than he can do with a Brock Purdy, as long as Trey Lance can do the simple things that Brock Purdy was doing. So I think, you know, he could be worth this extension that we're talking about, but he's going to have to come out and show it. But I think Kyle's from the position to where he thinks he can make do with whatever. So I think Trey Lance has to show a lot in order to get paid with the 49ers.
I agree. And Kyle has to have a plan if he uses them to how to build him up. And it seems to me like his plan last year was to run Trey. And I understand the idea, but it was unnecessary because he wasn't successful as a runner and everyone else was. So this is the team that won an NFC championship game throwing 8 times. Mm-hmm. I feel like the way to start is they could beat teams throwing 8 times with Trey Lance. Not that he's that bad, but I'd like to go through his games and chart what the running backs averaged yards per carry when Trey Lance started. I bet you it was over 5 yards a carry, and lump Debo in there too. Just him handing off, I bet you'd average 5.5 yards a carry, and you don't have to do that much else if you're averaging 5 yards a carry. You know, plus, I mean, that's what we saw in the NFC Championship game. So Just keep it simple. Hand off. Hand off.
I hope that's what he does. I think that would be great if he came out like that. But
from the gun, from under center. I mean, there's so many different ways you can hand off because every time he's got the ball, the defense's eyes are going to be on him.
But it seems like he's going to have run a QB power in the first drive based on Trey, and that's probably what's going to happen, even though I think he shouldn't. Yeah.
I'm going to give Kyle the benefit of the doubt and say he's not that crazy. He's not that stupid.
Yeah. All right, we'll see.
But I really want to see what Christian McCaffrey can do for Trey. Wouldn't it be a shame if we never saw Christian McCaffrey and Trey Lance play a game together? Not one. I mean, look what McCaffrey did for Jimmy immediately. Look what he did for Brock immediately. We can't even see what he would do for and the thing why I don't really believe in Sam Darnold, he already played with Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. It didn't work. It didn't help. Yeah. So I like to see what can happen for Trey.
Trey's never had that. Even if you go back to preseason last year when everyone was being hard on him, he basically had Brandon Ayuk. And he was going against the 49ers defense, the first defense. Everyone else was going against the backups, right? So he's never really had CMC, George Kittle, all those guys together clicking. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I think he's going to do great. I really do.
If I remember correctly, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but in 2021, when Jalen Hurts first became the starter for that team, they had him throwing a lot early in the season, and he was struggling. Remember the Niners beat them week 2, and I think they scored like 11 points. And like halfway through the season, Nick Sirianni figured out like, wait a second, we're a running team. Let's press the issue running the ball and go from there. And all of a sudden, I think he's won 19 of his last 22 starts. Like, they figured out their identity, and it took them about half a season to get there. I mean, Kyle hasn't kept this guy healthy long enough to get there, but I think if they could play 8 games in a row without him getting hurt, they'd figure it out like Philly did.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see. As a fan, I just want to see Trey Lance play an entire season and see what we got, because I really feel like if Kyle Shanahan plays to the strengths of the team with the run game and gives Trey Lance that time to build up and build confidence, by week 18, you could really have something. Yeah.
And remember what Jordan Palmer said, 3 things you need to succeed as a quarterback in the NFL today. This is Carson Palmer's brother. Carson Palmer, the biggest statue maybe ever. He said you got to be able to get the ball out of your hands quickly, escape the pocket, and push the ball down the field. Well, Trey Lance can do all of that. He just needs to prove that he can get the ball out of his hands quickly. That's what is, and that's it. That's all he's got to prove. If he can do that, he can do the 3 things you got to do. Jalen Hurts can do all 3 of those things. And that's why he just got the contract he got.
And he's working with the best quarterback coach that you can have for that. Yeah, the guy.
That's right. And McCaffrey will help him. Yes. You have the best check down threat in the league. If Trey Lance can't get him the ball, then there's something wrong with Trey. I'd like to see him play before we project whether or not he can do it.
Yeah, and most of the targets, if I remember correctly, I was looking, most of the targets, at least in the beginning of this season, we're going to Debo, who is known not to have the best hands, if we're being honest. So it would be nice to see what CMC, Kittle, all those guys can do for Trey Lance.
That's right. Gold-blooded said, let's not forget Trey's second start was a must-win to get into the playoffs. No pressure, kid. Yeah. And to me, like Kyle just had him trying to execute the Jimmy Garoppolo offense in the first half. A lot of quick throws, and he was 10 of 13 with a pick. That one pick that it was a bad read. Finally, in the second half, Kyle Shanahan put him under center, moved the pocket, and had him push the ball down the field. 2 touchdowns on 10 throws. Like, all of a sudden, it looked easy, and I don't understand why they haven't let him do that more often, because that's theoretically what he does well. I mean, we've seen him. He's not going to be an elite zone read runner, but he could be an elite play-action bootleg passer, which is supposed to be the bread and butter of your offense anyway.
Right.
Brock's never going to be able to push the ball down the field like Trey, ever.
Yeah, and Trey can also scramble for a first down if you put him out in bootleg, right? He can.
Yeah, more than Brock.
He's got a lot of. This is why I've been talking about him for so long. People get mad, but he's got a ton of potential, man, and that's just what I want. I just want to see him out of it. Yeah.
He just has to prove he can do the basics, and honestly, Kyle has to prove he can teach him. Brian Greasy has to prove he can teach him. Just fixing up the mechanics, because honestly, Andy Reid could do it. I bet you if Trey Lance. If Andy Reid traded for Trey Lance right now, like Bill Walsh traded for Steve Young when he had Joe Montana, just because he's like, I can get him for cheap. Yeah. I can fix him. I can coach him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he did it with Alex Smith, who had the same freaking issue and has a lot in common with Trey Lance. I think this is really on the Niners. Like, teach him the freaking basics. The reason it works with Brock Purdy is because he learned it in college. You didn't have to coach him. Could do a little coaching, Brian.
And here's the thing,
Kyle.
the way I look at it too is like as a coach, just at a lower level, the high school level as a basketball coach, we work on our weaknesses in practice, but when it's game time, you play to your strengths.
Your strengths.
And so 49ers not only have to teach him to work on his weaknesses, they need to play to his strengths during the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And I maintain that until he gets a little playing time, the best play for the 49ers with Trey Lance on the field is the handoff. Mm-hmm. The handoff. It's so simple, but it's the only time Kyle Shanahan won an NFC Championship game here. He'd been to 2 others since then, tried to get creative, didn't work. Yeah. Hand the damn ball off. Yeah. I'd like, can anyone tell me what yards per carry running backs when Trey Lance is in there? I'd love to know. All right. Let's go defense first. Who do you think the breakout player of the year will be on the 49ers defense?
Breakout player of the year on the defense, I'm going to go with Drake Jackson. I'm going to go with Drake Jackson. I think the 49ers are counting on Drake Jackson to be that guy. They haven't made any real aggressive moves for an edge rusher in the free agency. Maybe they'll do it in the draft, but I think they saw enough from Drake Jackson to know if he just gets in the gym and works his ass off to be, just all muscle, pure muscle, at the weight that he's comfortable with. I think they believe Drake Jackson can be an effective pass rusher. And I think that also because they just haven't been aggressive in free agency for that. A lot of people are thinking they're going to come after another edge rusher, but they got Hargrave. But I think that doesn't eliminate Drake Jackson's role on the team. I think Drake Jackson's going to make that Hufanga leap for the defense this year.
That's interesting. I don't know what to think of Drake Jackson because he was playing and then he fell out of favor. And Kyle was pretty. He said why. He's like, he just lost all of his power and endurance, and he's got to come back stronger next year. Like with Aaron Banks, they were like, look, it's a redshirt year. We're remaking his body. It felt like Drake Jackson disappointed him. The other guy who is interesting is Diamador Lenore. Mm-hmm. Lenore came on strong at the end of the year, and he did get beat deep, but I feel like with the addition of Javon Hargrave, the Niners pass rush should be a lot better. There probably won't be as many deep shots on the team as there was toward the end of last year, and Lenore will be able to jump routes like he was in the playoffs, and he looked pretty good at that. He was really confident. Lynch said it too. I thought he was more confident than Charvarius Ward by the end of the season. So I think he's going to keep it going into year 3. Lenore.
And I think Steve Wilks could help with that as well, right? Like he's a DB specialist, new defensive coordinator. So I'm hoping all the defensive backs take a step up. And they weren't bad last year at all, but I think Wilks is here. He's the first defensive back specialist the 49ers had at coordinator in a while. So I'm expecting Lenore to make a jump as well because of Wilks.
Smash of the Wild is a new member. Thank you very much. That was a great decision. Your best of the day. And it's not even noon.
Yes.
All right, give me your breakout player of the year for the 49ers offense. Who's it going to be?
I got 2. I'm going to give you the less exciting one first, if that's okay. Jordan Mason. I think Jordan Mason is going to have a big role this year. I don't, Elijah Mitchell, unfortunately, has not shown that he can be healthy. And I don't think the 49ers can just go with CMC all year long. So I think Jordan Mason, because he's a sophomore, Kyle doesn't like playing the rookies that much. Jordan Mason showed that he was the guy last year, but Kyle just wasn't playing him. But I think this year now he's used to the system. Kyle's going to be more comfortable playing him. And there's going to be a time when Jordan Mason becomes a big factor. I think he's an amazing running back.
I agree. I think he runs harder than – I think he might run harder than anyone on the team. McCaffrey, they all run really hard, but damn, this guy runs super hard, and he's the biggest. Also, the way Kyle uses his running backs, he doesn't really rotate them. He kind of just takes a guy and runs him until he's either injured or exhausted and then brings in the next guy. And the result is no running back has ever led the Niners in rushing twice since he's been here. Ever.
Yeah.
So McCaffrey just led him in rushing last year. He could do it, but the pattern is it's going to be someone else. And the only person on the team that hasn't done it yet is Mason or Ty Davis Price, and I know who I'm betting on. So Mason could end up being a starter for them down the stretch, or he could – if history is any indication, he'll be their leading rusher this year.
He's shown me no reason to doubt him. None.
Got fresh legs.
Yeah.
He got fresh legs. They didn't use him that much in college. He was in a rotation. Yeah, absolutely.
So Jordan Mason, my first one. My second one, Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
He's got to be. He's going to be the guy. Vegas has him as the top for MVP, top 4 comeback player of the year. I think Trey Lance is going to seize this opportunity. the likelihood of him getting injured again, I think, is low based on just statistic probability. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. I hope that doesn't happen.
On the other hand, every quarterback Kyle has gets injured, so I mean it's it's hard to. We'll see.
As long as he stays healthy, I think Trey Lance is going to finally get an opportunity to show everybody what he can do. And I think with this team, there's a lot of quarterbacks that could have success. And I think Trey Lance's intangibles, his mindset, his physical traits, it's all going to translate into success finally for him this year. I think it's Trey Lance.
I agree. And I think it's not just him. It's going to be like the whole – they have to build an offensive identity with him. They've never done it. Yeah. They've had this different Trey Lance offense, which I think is dead now. And they have to build an offensive identity with him, and they have to prove to themselves that they can win with him because they don't have that confidence yet. They built that confidence immediately with Brock, and they have an opportunity to do it. What does it take to win with Trey? Because it's different. You got to call the game differently. Kyle's acknowledged that, and he hasn't figured it out yet. So what's it going to be? I suggest lots of handoffs, but you can do that maybe once or twice. Eventually, you're going to have to build off of that. He'll have to figure it out. But I think if Brock Purdy starts the season on PUP, he'll have no choice but to figure it out.
Yeah. He hasn't even played 2 games back-to-back. Trey Lance hasn't even played 2 games back-to-back this whole time. So I just want to see 4. Let me see 4 back-to-back. And I'm pretty sure by game 4, a lot of the fan base, even college candidates, will be like, okay, this guy, we have something with this guy.
And it doesn't have to look super clean right away. This guy's been on the shelf essentially for 3 years. What they have to do is get his feet underneath him, build up his confidence, find a way to win with him so that down the stretch, he's cooking. Because that's what happened with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. Like, it took them all of 2021 to get him going. But by the end, he was really, really good. And they made the playoffs. But, I mean, what were they that year? Like 8 and – I mean, 8 and 9, so 9 and 8. I mean, it wasn't that great. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they got – it's a process.
And here's the tough thing, though. I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers end up playing the Eagles very early in the season, and they're going to Philadelphia. So the schedule's not going to be easy. But if Trey Lance can go into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles in their house, he's going to be submitting himself pretty quickly if he can do that. Yeah.
Kyle and the Niners just have to find some layups that Trey Lance is comfortable with, because the handoffs will be money. The deep shots will be money, but that can't be your whole offense. There's got to be some throw, because with Jalen Hurts, I mean, the bubble screens, the RPOs, he's money on those. Yeah. Trey Lance has to have some quick throws that he can get off on time accurately, that he's comfortable in, confident in, and Kyle's confident calling. And I don't think he's had enough time in games for Kyle to figure out what those throws are. But because he hasn't thrown any enough to have, a sample size where you say he's good at this or he's not good at this. They got to find that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. They just got to keep it simple. The expression "keep it simple, stupid," right? They just got to keep it simple for Trey Lance. Run the ball, give him some easy stuff, take a shot or 2 during the game. You have enough. Your roster is good enough to where Trey Lance can find success and learn as he's going and still make the playoffs.
Right. One thing the Eagles do for Jalen Hurts that the Niners might want to do for Trey Lance, a lot of their offense is play action, throw over the middle, layering the ball over linebackers in front of safeties. That's what Brock does. That's what Jimmy does. That's the offense. And it's really not what the Eagles do. It's the opposite of what the Eagles do, because those are high-risk throws. Yeah, they throw behind the line of scrimmage to the outside and deep. Yeah. They don't throw over the middle that much, because when you miss over the middle, it's intercepted.
Yeah.
I mean, those are tough throws. And when you miss to the sideline, it's you hit a hot dog vendor. When you miss behind the line of scrimmage, it's incomplete. When you miss deep, it's incomplete. You might want to think about that for Trey Lance, because the hardest throw for him is going to be layering it over the middle. He can hit the sideline throw. He has the arm for it. He can hit the deep shots. He has the arm for it. Play to his strengths.
That's also how you keep people healthy. I think that's part of the symptoms of why the 49ers are always injured is they play in the middle. And that's also why Jimmy had a lot of interceptions. They stopped doing that for Jimmy. You saw his interceptions come down last year.
That's right.
And they need to do the same thing for Trey Lance.
That's right. Yeah. Obi-149 says Hurts is good, but I think $255 million is too much for him. It's going to be interesting to see how they keep that team together with him making this much money, because, again, he has everything, man. He's never under pressure in the pocket. He's a great offensive line, great running game, great wide receivers. It's fair to point. And he's always winning.
But you don't want to pay guys if you can avoid it. But when you know a guy is the truth, which it kind of seems like he is, you want to get out in front of it before
they did the right thing.
Yeah.
Right. They could have waited, and then Burrow could have gotten paid, and then they would have had to give Hurts more. So I think they did the right thing.
Yeah.
I think you want to be in this situation. All right. I think that's enough football talk for today. We're going to talk a little basketball because the Warriors play game 2 tonight in Sacramento. They lost game 1. Warriors analysts and fans are probably a little surprised, but the Kings are legit. They are the 3 seed. They have one of the best offenses ever, and now they're leading 1-0. What do you expect to be different about game 2? How do you expect this one to go down?
I mean, Kerr is a good coach. I have issues with him when it comes to like rotations and how much you play players. But I expect Wiggins to start tonight over Dante. So I think that's a big difference. I expect Wiggins to play more than 28 minutes, which is going to help you on defense. It's going to help you getting free throws, attacking the basket, getting fouls, which is really good as well. Kerr is a really smart guy. He's got a good staff. I expect him to make a lot of adjustments. I'm hoping they play Curry and Clay a little more as well. Go ahead.
Wait, Kerr, didn't he feel like he was coaching that game like he was the 3 seed? Like they were defending champions. Like, we're not going to change anything. We're not going to make any adjustments. We're the better team here. It's like, actually, if you had just played Curry for those 3 more minutes at the end of the third quarter, you probably steal a game that ends the series. Yeah. But you were too cool for school, and you just did it like you normally do and dropped a game that was this close. I don't know.
The argument for not, they played Curry and Klay Thompson 37 minutes. They played Wiggins 28 minutes. I understand the Wiggins thing, but I was looking at Jordan and LeBron. They averaged like 41 and something minutes per game in the playoffs.
Dude, Kawhi played like 43 minutes yesterday, and he's got like 1 leg.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm saying.
That's what he needs to be doing. I think he's thinking like he may have underestimated the Kings. We're the defending champs. We're going to be able to beat them. But if you're trying to preserve his health, you need to minimize games, not 3 minutes that you could. If you give him 3 more minutes, you're winning that game.
Good call. I have a feeling he's going to play till the end of the third quarter. You can't take Draymond and Steph Curry out at the same time and ask Jordan Poole to finish the quarter. I don't trust him.
Yeah. For me,
can't do that.
For me, when I was coaching, you really need to start strong and finish strong right. So sit in between the second and the first and the second. Sit in between the third and the fourth, but give them more time in the fourth. Don't have them come in at 8 minutes. They set them like 5 minutes. They took them out 3 minutes left in the third. They brought them in with 8 mindraymond it was like 5 minutes at least, or not, if not more. And that's ridiculous. He is a star. Klay Thompson is a star. Draymond Green is a star. Wiggins is your star. You have to play those players. We're in the playoffs now. The season is over. It's time to play these guys.
Let's talk about that last play too. So the game essentially came down to the last possession. Yeah. Warriors down 1 with the ball. Klay Thompson gets the ball, drives down the lane. De'Aaron Fox rotates over and stands right at the restricted area. Klay Thompson is 6'7". They're down 1. He does not go to the hoop. He passes out to the corner 3, which is fine. But down 1 in that situation, De'Aaron Fox is the only person between you and the basket. You got to go to the hoop, because you're either going to score or get fouled. And I feel like with Klay this year, I haven't seen every Warriors game, but what I've been watching with him is great 3-point shooter, but his offensive game inside the arc has been pretty spotty. And that was a bad decision, man. That was on Klay. Klay did not have a great game in game 1.
Yeah, you got to go up strong and attack.
Got to go up there.
Maybe get fouled, go to the free throw line, and Klay Thompson's going to win you that game. I don't mind the shot. A lot of people are mad at Wiggins for shooting that shot, but a corner 3 is one of the most high percentage 3-point shots.
What was he supposed to do? Turn it down? I mean, Klay passed it to him. Yeah. Klay should have went up.
Yeah, Klay. That's on Klay. He probably could have hit a little floater or just been aggressive and got fouled.
Yeah.
They should have won that game. They had multiple chances. Curry had a chance at the end of the game. I don't know what he was doing with the floater 3. That was a little weird. Set your feet.
Yeah, he didn't need to do that. Yeah, he didn't need to do that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's not even going to be. They're going to win, I believe, tonight. I think they're going to win pretty easily, 5, 7, 10 points, somewhere in that round.
Yeah, I agree. I guess why I'm not as confident is I feel like you know what you're going to get from Steph, Klay, and Draymond, basically. And you're going to get championship play from all 3 of them. You don't know what you're going to get from Wiggins, because what's his conditioning in? It seemed like he was in great condition the first half, and he got gassed in the second half. He only gave him 3 rebounds. I mean, last year he was such an incredible rebounder in the playoffs, which is important when they went small. I think it's why they didn't go small in the fourth quarter, because they were getting killed on the board. That's a big reason they lost this game. Yeah. I mean, they lost by 3. The other team had 8 more possessions than them. Yeah. I mean, so they need I don't know. Is Andrew Wiggins going to be himself in his second game back, or is it going to take a few weeks? Do they have a few weeks? Also, Gary Payton II is very important in this series. They need him to play 30 minutes a game, and I don't know. Can you do that? He's only played 8 games since coming back. Those two are very important. They're your best defenders.
The Warriors' last game, I think it was like 15. They're plus 15 or 17 with Steph on the court. With him off, they're minus 15 or 17. There's a remedy I have that I think they should do that they're not going to do, but I would just never play Jordan Poole and Steph Curry at the same time.
I think that's fair. Why would you play them together? It's two smalls in the backcourt. Jordan Poole can't guard anyone. Why?
It makes your defense bad, and then when Poole's shooting these crazy shots, you're taking away from opportunities for Steph Curry. So just when you pull Steph Curry out, put Poole in. When you put Steph back in, take Poole out. They're not going to do that, but I think if they did, they would have a lot more success.
Also, Poole shot 33% from 3 this year. It's not like he's even a great floor spacing.
He's barely
he gives you
from the 3.
I mean, what is he? He's best at driving, but a lot of times when he drives, he's wild. He turns the ball over. He makes bad decisions. I mean, the way I look at Jordan Poole is he's either the best player on the court or the worst. Like he's either making a positive impact or he's killing you. Well, I wouldn't trust him in a playoff game, man. I would play Gary Payton over him.
I would also not play him in critical times, right? Yeah. 20 seconds left, 30 seconds left before a half, before the end of the game. Get him out of there because you don't know what you're going to get. And as a coach, the thing that I like most about players, or the reason I decide to play players, is because
you know what you're going to get.
Who do you trust?
You trust.
I know what this guy's going to do every single time. He's the one that's going to play because I have some kind of control. With Jordan Poole, you don't know what the hell he's going to do. You know.
Yeah, you absolutely no trust. So I would also you can't. I don't think Draymond and Curry can be on the bench at the same time because those are the 2 point guards on the team. Jordan Poole's not a point guard.
Yeah,
like that stretch at the end of the third quarter, their lineup was like Jordan Poole, Gary Payton, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney. Like there's no playmaker on the court. It's Poole. You can't do that.
They didn't play Klay Thompson until 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. He came in during the 6 minute something mark in the fourth quarter. That's insane to me. It doesn't make sense.
The defense falls apart when Draymond's not on the court. He's really important. They don't really have a role for Kuminga. Can he do anything in this series, or is he not playable? I don't know.
I like what I see from Kuminga. Honestly, I think he's good. It's hard for me to take as crazy as it sounds. I would take more minutes away from Poole than I would from Kuminga. I like Kuminga's rebounding, his defense. He attacks the basket. You don't have a lot of those guys. I like Poole. I think Poole could be great if he learns to get himself under control and learn that he's not Steph Curry. You should not be taking the same shots as Steph Curry. You've not earned that right. Your percentage does not show that you're that guy. So use your speed, use one move or no moves, attack the basket, either finish or kick out. That's what you should be doing on offense. And you shouldn't be taking away shots from Steph Curry at all, in my opinion.
Other than that, I mean, the Warriors did really well on defense in the first half, but they were torched in the second half. What they want to do is take away the drive from De'Aaron Fox and force him to pull up, preferably from 3. And he took 8 threes and made 4 of them, which is kind of not really who he is. Yeah. I don't think that the Warriors are going to change up their defensive strategy on that. I think they'll be like, dude, do that again.
I'd rather have De'Aaron Fox now. To me, he should be nominated for comeback or most improved player because he wasn't bad last year, but he's really good now. His 3 has been pretty damn good this year. So, but I still think that's a strategy. You don't want De'Aaron Fox penetrating and finding somebody else or attacking the basket. That's what they need to do. And the other thing that what the Warriors really need to do is the Kings really don't have rim defenders. So they can't just settle for 3s. They shot 50 threes. That's too much, right? I don't mind it from Steph. I don't mind it from Klay, but everyone else attack the basket, draw a foul, get to the free throw line. That I would like to see more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listening to what the players said after the game, I mean, the next day, I think it's pretty clear what they feel. They got to Malik Monk 14 free throws. Like that can't happen. No. You can't let Malik Monk shoot 14 free throws, and you can't give up 19 offensive rebounds. No. So they lost by 3. If they can cut those 2 numbers in half, I think they feel pretty confident. But who's gonna step up in the? I think the rebounding thing is a big thing because I look at it as big lineup versus big lineup. Kings are better. when the Warriors go small, that's when they always have the advantage on teams. But they can't go small if they're going to get killed on the offensive boards. So in this game, I'm looking, Draymond had 9 boards, Looney had 9 boards, Curry had 6, Thompson had 6. The guy who didn't have any boards was freaking Wiggins. He had 3. He needs to step up. Otherwise, I don't see how they can do this lineup and not give up, offensive rebound after offensive rebound.
Yeah, Wiggins has to be a factor on the rebounds for sure. Another thing, Steph Curry, I lost track, but I think he got up to 6 turnovers.
Let me look.
I think there was at least 6. I think he had at least 6 turnovers.
5. Still plus 11, but yeah, he needs to knock that off.
Take that down to 3, and you win this game.
Yeah, I agree.
5 is too much, and a lot of it's just casual stuff that.
Considering he only had 2 assists.
Yeah,
He had 2 assists.
I was about to win $800 if he would have had 4 more assists. But I lost. It's like Steph Curry gets 6 assists, I win $800, but it didn't happen. But yeah, but his turnovers are crazy, man, and they're just basic childish lob, like lazy lob pass, cross court passes that he can eliminate, and if he does that can make a difference too.
I think what's really interesting about this series is to me, it's coming down to Wiggins. Okay, he is the 4th guy on this team. He left the team. Yeah. He was great last year. He was an all-star last year. He was great last year. He was their number 1 defender. He shut down Jason Tatum. He was their secret weapon. This year, went MIA. The team was okay with it. There was no explanation. If it was Curry, Draymond, or Clay, the news would have broke. But people felt, I guess no one really cares, and there'll be blowback. So we're not going to report this. So he comes back, and what are you? They need him to be exactly what he was last year. And if he can't be, what's really interesting is, okay, Wiggins is the guy. He essentially was here to replace Durant, who replaced Harrison Barnes. Harrison Barnes let him down in 2016. Wasn't good enough. He's on the Kings. Yeah. And he had 4 offensive rebounds in this game. He played 36 minutes. Like, he didn't go away for half the season. He's in great shape. He's starting. He's rebounding. Wiggins is better. Yeah. But at least Zach can depend on Harrison Barnes. And isn't it ironic that the guy the Warriors, essentially kicked off the island is putting him in a tough spot right now?
I'd still rather have Wiggins all day long than Harrison Barnes, but I think Wiggins is going to be fine. I think they're going to play him more than 28 minutes. They only.
What did you say though 10 minutes ago about players you can trust?
Yeah, well, when Wiggins is there, I can trust him. Is
he there? Is he there? Is he there?
You got to.
All right.
I think he's going to be fine. After all this is said, it's still Warriors in 6. I'm not panicking.
Okay. No, if they win tonight, they're right back in the driver's seat, right? Yeah. They did what they needed to do. They took a road game. They're going back home where they're going to win. Yeah, this game tonight is big. I don't remember the last time they lost their first 2 games of a series. It's tough if you lose the first 2 games because then you got to win 4 of the next 5, essentially, right? To win.
Yeah, and look for Draymond Green and Sabonis, or Draymond Green and I believe the guy's name's Lamb, the backup center for the Kings,
to get in a fight.
They were like Lamb and Draymond were going out a little bit. I look to that. That's going to continue to build throughout this matchup.
Yeah, when the Warriors are in like do or die mode, like he's getting texts, right?
Yeah,
he's not going out without a tech.
Right.
Mansa Toure says Kings in 6.
Of course, he says that.
You know what kind of they celebrated a little too much after we game.
That's
1.
The other thing.
That was a bad look. That made me feel like they're not ready.
Act like you've heard the expression "act like you've been here before." Well, they weren't acting. Before.
They played the game of They played the game of their careers, and they won by 3. And it came basically because Klay Thompson made a bad decision on the final possession, like that. Okay, nice. Yeah. That take a bunch of selfies about it.
I hope they didn't celebrate too much because it's not over yet.
Also, they offended E40. That's bad karma. Oh, you can't do that.
You're losing.
In Northern California, no, you can't. It can't happen.
Yeah,
no.
Don't do that.
Elite Archer 23 says, "Show me evidence Lance can make it through his reads. You guys conveniently gloss over that weakness of his."
Show me evidence. He's barely played.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah. How come it's always the black quarterbacks that can't go through their reads? You ever notice that?
Yes.
It's always that.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? Christopher Cedro says, "JK 0 boards in game 1. Kerr wants more from JK there." JK. Who's JK? Kuminga.
Yeah.
Yeah. He and Wiggins, one of those two needed to be a rebounder, because the one thing about Barnes, he wasn't very good at shooting or defending. Dude could rebound as a small ball power forward. He was tough. He could jump. He could box out. That was important.
I think Kuminga gets another chance today. If he doesn't show that he's going to do that, his minutes might go down quite a bit. I think honestly he's like ninth man for me, Kuminga. I'd rather play the other guys. I'd rather play. I don't know. I just know. I just don't want to see Jordan Poole and Steph Curry on the court at the same time. I know they're going to. I just don't like that when they do that.
Monza says, I'm not a Kings fan. Kings can actually play better. The Warriors just outplayed them in the first half and then got tired. Steve Kerr had a brain fart, and then they still came down to the final possession on the road. I still think they're going to win tonight. And I
Kings
think
aren't beating the Warriors, man. I would be shocked if the Kings win this series. Yeah.
I mean, the Warriors do have flaws. Like, they're not as good this year as they were last year. They're a pretty small team. I mean, it's no wonder they got beat on the boards. I mean, Wiggins is scrambling to get back in playing shape. So there's legit questions, but I'm with you, man. I don't think they're going to lose this series the first round. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that would be crazy. But I will say the Kings are on the uptick, right? They're on the way up. I expect the Kings to be a solid team for years to come now.
Kev, I'm looking for it. We're going to filibuster. Oh, here we go. Is this the last dance for the Dubs? If they lose, I think it will be. If they lose, but I don't think they're going to lose.
I don't know. It's hard to say. People say that every year and they keep doing it. So we'll have to see. If they lose,
feels like Lacob wants to break it up. He feels like he's Jerry Krause. I think that's why he said the last dance. There are definite parallels between that 1998 team. I think Joe Lacob wants to have, I feel like Steph, Clay, and Draymond run the team. And I think Joe wants to run the team.
And here's the thing is Clay is going to be really expensive. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Clay and Draymond. Who would you pick?
I know Clay said he wanted
yeah.
Good luck. Not coming off that torn ACL.
You pick Clay or Draymond. If you had to decide between Clay and Draymond, who you picking?
I actually have. I believe Draymond's been more important to this team than Clay. I think they're all three are Hall of Famers, but I think Draymond is the defense. I don't think Clay plays defense like he used to. Great 3-point shooter, but I think it's easier to find a shooter than a guy who can play defense like Draymond. I mean, he's so unique. Unique.
I think I might agree. I don't know. It's tough because I have mixed feelings about Draymond. Sometimes he frustrates me with his he lets his emotions get the best of him sometimes.
Yeah. But he's been that way forever. He's always been that way.
Yeah, it's hard.
He's essentially Dennis Rodman of this era with point guard skills.
Yeah, I mean, Draymond is really important to the Warriors. So that's tough. I don't even want to.
They won nothing without Draymond. Yeah. Steph and Clay were together for years and never made it to the finals without Draymond. Draymond becomes a starter. All of a sudden, they're a dynasty.
They have the option of keeping both, but my understanding is it's going to be a $500 million penalty. The Warriors would have to pay.
I don't think Joe Lacob wants to do it. I think he wants to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too bad.
Yep.
Too bad. He's never going to build a dynasty like this again. You should be honored to pay the tax, dude. This is history over here. But
a lot of money.
You got someone like Jordan Poole, you got to move on to the next generation.
I'm not.
Anyway,
I'm not on that guy yet.
We both picking the Warriors tonight. I don't know. It kind of depends on where Wiggins is at in terms of conditioning, but we'll see. You think he's going to go start and go 35 minutes? If he does, they should win.
Yeah.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I got Bonta on the channel tomorrow. If you guys want to check that out, 10 a.m. He's coming to help me review this Warriors game.
Definitely check that out. Bonte's the man. All right, guys. I'll be back at 3 o'clock with Larry. Take care.